I'm sure you were expecting this question. I'm sure everyone asks you about this given the profile of Rob Owen, but would love to hear more about Rob and your relationship with him. I'm curious how you got to working with him. Did you reach out to him? He seems like the guy you can't just walk up in front of his doorsteps and be like, "I'd like to be coached by you." I'm curious how that got cultivated.
So obviously I was hitting with Jonah through not this summer, last summer, and I was kind of in a weird spot with coaches. I'd been working with John Tate. I say working with a pinch of salt there. I went to his squads, and Chris Ryder, who I'd been coached by for a long time. He was also there. But I basically stopped going, kind of was doing my own thing for a long time, and hitting with Jonah was one of the main things. I started hitting with him a lot, instead of going to them squads. And then Rob comes in and I see how intense he is. He's so focused on stuff. Katie Malik was in and she was doing a solo and he stood on the court while she's doing a solo. You don't get coaches standing on court while someone's doing a solo. Right. It is the 1% things that Rob picks up on, and he will pick up on a lot of different things that people don't see. But how it came about was I really realized that I don't want to be a player that comes on tour and loses matches for 2 years until they break in and start winning matches. So people can get into the top 50 or the world tour, we'll call it, and they can turn up, they can live their life, they can make a living, they just turn up, pay the flights, get the points and carry on. They don't move ranking up or down. But I didn't want to be one of them players. So I needed the best coach, and Rob is great. I had many people tell me all different things, but I said, I'm going to take my own opinion. And I messaged him. I said, look, Rob, I see how you are with all your players. I would love to be coached by you. And he went, yeah, great. Give me a call. We had an hour conversation, and it was just basically what he expects. He sent me a list of, I think it was 50 things he expects off his players.
You give us some insights on a couple of those.
Find it. This is what Rob expects of you to be a good squash player. It is funny because I've shown it to other people, and people actually not get offended, but almost go, "Oh, but I can't do that. I'm not a good squash player then." And I kind of go, "Well, it's a fact, isn't it?" So, here we go. Got it. So he literally he's put this he's sent this to a couple of people, I think. So it's basically, take the ball as early as you can, volley whenever possible, cut off your opponent's angles at all times, be able to hit a two wall boast and a 3-wall boast and a defensive boast, be able to hit a back wall boast running into the side wall at the front, serve well every time with variety, be fit to play for an hour 45 if necessary, learn to lift counter drop every time under pressure at the front, go on your the right foot in the front. So many different things. It's crazy.
Very squash specific stuff.
Very, very squash specific. And it's even like a back wall boast. He teaches back wall boasts. You don't get coaches that would coach about. He feeds both. He'll do a pressure feed for trickle boasts. I've never seen people coach a trickle boast in a pressure feed. So he does things that people don't do. And he that's what makes him a great coach. There's good coaches out there, and there's great coaches, and he is one of the great coaches.
Oh, that's just so fascinating. Yeah, I was going to follow up by asking you, what would you say are the main differences between him? Obviously, I'm sure you've had access to all these great coaches even before him, but just like in terms of like the differences he brings to the table, were your surrounding team or your family kind of against you joining with him, or it seems like you had some mixed opinions when you wanted to?
If you would have asked me 2 years ago, would I ever go to Rob Owen, I would have said no. And if I would have gone to Rob at that point, I wouldn't have been the person to go to Rob. I didn't want to work harder at that 2 years ago. You have to understand Rob. Rob's time. Time very valuable to Rob, and he will give you all of his time he can. But unfortunately, this isn't his job. Coaching is not his job. So this is where people get mixed up with. He is in from 10 a.m. till about 1 every day. Even when I was getting coached off a full-time coach, they weren't in every morning. So that's the difference. Yes, his job is very not relaxed, but it's time managed, and he manages it very well. But people need to understand he also has a lot of people come to him for a day or 2 days or a week. And the thing that makes Rob different is the fact that even with little time, he can change a player. The amount of people I've seen come to him for a week and leave better players. And I wouldn't say just 5-10% better. I'd say 50% better. He's had a couple of people come in recently. They leave complete players basically within a week, which is amazing.
That's crazy. I mean, you should be in front of the Rob Owen Academy support right there. The way you just pitched that was insane. How does it feel that he has so many players? I feel like I asked that because I feel like squash players, you have to inherently be a bit selfish, right? About your own success as an individual.
Misconception, I believe.
I see.
I was around selfish people, people that didn't care how I did. Yes, they might be happy if I get a good result, but people are envious. And like you said, it is a selfish sport. But when I joined Rob and Rob's Academy, there was only 3 players at the time. So SJ was consistently going, Sam, Osborne Wild, but he was injured, unfortunately, and Jonah. And at the time I joined, Elijah Thomas was joining as well. So for a while, it was just 4 of us. Sam was working on getting back from his injury, and Elijah was coming over, and he made a big move down to Birmingham from Pontefract. But the players that have joined, they don't just join for no reason. Rob makes sure he asks us all, would you like this person? What do you think if this person joined? And to an extent, yes, you've got to be selfish. I don't get much court time with Rob. I get asked quite a lot, how much time do I get on court with Rob? Rob will walk on court at any point. If I'm in the middle of a rally, he'll just open the door and walk on and tell me something. And what I've realised is what he actually tells me is more valuable than the 2-3 years of coaching that I got off other people. He could walk on, say one thing, walk off, he'll see something else, he'll just walk on again. And that's the difference. He's so intense, and he just walks on court and tells you something straight away. He doesn't wait for you to finish the rally or finish the drill. A lot of coaches will go, oh, go finish your drill, and then you'll come off all in a big group and go, oh, what was good or what was bad? He doesn't do that. He focuses on you. With the little time he has, he devotes, if he has 30 seconds talking and he's got 2 players, he'll devote 15 and 15 seconds. And it'll be everything he says in that 15 seconds is valuable. He doesn't waste a word. And the fact he's got a lot of players, he manages it very well. He's not got a lot of time, but he's got a lot of players. And he watches every match. Like, I remember I couldn't sleep at 3 a.m. And I was watching Matthew Lai, who's joined us, a Hong Kong player. He was in Canada. So it's 3 a.m. And I don't know how, but Rob texts me saying, oh, are you watching Matthew? 3 a.m. He's watching Matthew, who's only just joined. He's been in England for about 5 weeks altogether. So he's had coached off Rob for 5 weeks. And Rob is watching. He watched my match, my first ever match. It was against Hamami. He watched that, and I came off court. He said he wasn't going to stay up, and I didn't expect him to because it was 2 or 3 in the morning. But I had a report to come off to, and it was the first time I've ever had that straight after a match. So the fact he's got loads of players doesn't matter because he manages it so well. And the selfish side of it, no one in no one in the regular group, I would say, is selfish. We all want each other to do well. Whether it's me, Jonah, or Sam, or Elijah, I want everyone to do well. And if I'm in the same tournament, and me and Jonah were joking about it really, because I played I played Ika, and he played for Suzuki. And obviously we would have met if we both won in China. And we both said, look, it'd have been a great match because it'd been like just a training match. And I said, if you win, I would not be bothered because I want you to do well. And he said, yeah, I'd be bothered, but in the end, I'd be happy for you. And that's the difference. There's people that would be envious. And that's the difference with our group, and I think other groups out there.